You've always known you were made of many parts, but have you ever stopped to wonder who's talking to who inside you? There are 37 trillion cells in your body, each one alive, aware, and working. And somehow, without a brain of their own, they know exactly when to rest, when to replicate, when to heal, and when to die. But how, it turns out, your body is a quiet city, pulsing with chemical whispers, and every feeling, every wound, every second of stress becomes a message passed from cell to cell. Sometimes a call for help, sometimes a lie, sometimes a cry no one answers. And if your cells could speak like we do, you'd hear stories of burnout, forgiveness, confusion, and trust. Because in your body, communication is survival. And when your inner world falls silent or chaotic, your health begins to unravel, quietly, slowly, and usually without warning. Tonight, we'll explore how your cells speak, what they say when you're tired, what they whisper when you fall in love, and what they stop saying when illness sets in, because maybe the cure isn't always more action. Maybe it's learning how to listen to the messages within you. Before we begin, take a breath. This story is slow, calm, and full of truths you were never taught in school. If you find comfort in these quiet conversations, consider liking and subscribing, not just for us, but for you, because this is how healing begins, with understanding. And if something in this resonates, share your thoughts in the comments. Someone else might need your voice tonight. Now, let's go deep down and learn how cells talk to each other. Chapter 1. How cells send their silent signals. Somewhere deep inside you, long before you ever had words, something else was already speaking, not in English, not in sound, but in tiny electric shimmers and invisible clouds of chemical dust, messages so small they could slip between atoms, and so urgent they determined if you would survive the hour. This was the first language you ever spoke, the molecular whispers of your cells. You were once just one of them, a single cell, floating, listening, waiting for a signal, and from the moment you were conceived, your body became a living network, a system of endless messengers, delivering instructions in quiet pulses, soft exchanges, and life-saving alerts, all without needing your permission. Your body didn't wait for your conscious thoughts to know what to do, because long before you ever said, "I'm tired," your cells already began slowing down the machinery. Long before you ever said, "I'm in love," your cells were already releasing oxytocin, the chemical of bonding, of warmth, of staying close. And long before you ever knew you were stressed, your cells were flooded with cortisol, quietly preparing for something that might hurt. This is the language of life, cellular communication, and tonight, we're going to listen in. Imagine your body as a great silent city. The heart is the power plant. The brain is the central command. But the true life of the city happens in the streets, in the tens of trillions of cells that line your organs, build your skin, move your muscles, and regulate your chemistry. They're always talking, always responding. They don't speak with words, but with molecules, hormones, neurotransmitters, ions, cytokines. Each one is a kind of letter, a coded message delivered from one cell to another. Some of these letters travel across tiny synaptic gaps like whispers between close friends. Others ride through the bloodstream like long-distance packages, taking their time but reaching far. And some float in the space between cells, like pheromones drifting through a crowded room, shaping the mood without a single person realizing. This is how your cells stay connected across organs, distances, and purposes, like musicians in an orchestra who've never met, yet still play in perfect time. Let's take a closer look. Say you're startled, a loud sound, a rush of fear. Your brain signals the adrenal glands to release adrenaline and noradrenaline. These molecules spread through the bloodstream like a citywide alarm. Heart cells hear the call. They start to beat faster. Lung cells hear the call. They expand more rapidly. Liver cells hear the call. They begin converting glycogen to glucose, preparing energy. This all happens in seconds. No waiting, no thinking, just response. That's the whisper network at work, each cell hearing the message and playing its part. No cell acts alone. And the beauty of it is that most of this you'll never feel. Because by the time you do feel something, the message has already been heard hundreds of times over, passed from cell to cell like a secret echoing down a long corridor. Now pause here and consider something subtle, something haunting. What happens when the messages start getting lost? What if a cell doesn't get the signal, or misreads it, or receives too many messages all at once? This is where things begin to break down. In neuroscience, this is called signal transduction failure. In medicine, we call it inflammation, hormonal imbalance, or autoimmune reaction. In your everyday life, you just call it feeling off, tired, for no reason, anxious without cause, exhausted even after sleeping. These aren't random. They're signs of cellular miscommunication, and more often than not, your body is trying to tell you something. Think of insulin, one of the most famous messengers in the body. Its job is simple. Tell your cells when there's sugar in the blood, and help them absorb it for energy. But in people with insulin resistance, that message starts getting ignored. Cells stop responding to insulin's knock on the door. It's not that the hormone is gone, it's that the conversation is broken, and so the sugar stays in the blood. Your body, confused, sends more insulin, but the more it sends, the more the cells ignore it. The conversation becomes noise. This is how silence begins, not from the absence of messages, but from the loss of meaning in the message. It's a biological burnout, and it mirrors emotional burnout more closely than we realize, because this isn't just about glucose. It's about every kind of signal your body tries to send. You get tired, your body tells you to rest, but you push through. You feel overwhelmed. Your nervous system begs for stillness, but you scroll faster. You feel hungry, but you're too distracted to eat. One by one, your cells adapt to the silence. They stop asking for what they need. They stop responding to stress. They go numb, and when enough cells go quiet, so do you. You lose your hunger, your desire, your sleep, your spark, not because something broke suddenly, but because the whisper network went quiet and no one noticed. But here's the part we forget. Your body is trying to speak to you. Right now, it is. Every sigh, every ache, every racing heartbeat, every moment of stillness. Your cells are not just parts of you. They are you in a deeper way than your mind ever can be. They are the physical memories of every moment you've lived, and they're always speaking. The real question is, are you still listening? Let's dive deeper into one of the most fascinating forms of cellular language: neurotransmitters. Neurotransmitters are the molecules that allow your brain cells to talk to each other, but they do more than transmit. They also sculpt your emotional landscape. Serotonin, for example, is known as the feel-good chemical, but more accurately, It's the stabilizer. It helps regulate mood, appetite, memory, and sleep. It's how your brain cells say, "We're okay, you're safe." Dopamine, on the other hand, says, "Pay attention, this might be worth chasing." It's not about happiness. It's about motivation, the thrill of maybe, and GABA, one of the most calming neurotransmitters, is like a deep exhale. It quiets the system down. It tells your nervous system, you can stop now. It's over. Let go. These are not just chemicals, they're messages, and your body sends them with exquisite timing, responding to your thoughts, your surroundings, your memories, even your posture. And now for something even stranger. Cells can whisper through. Touch, literally it's called mechanotransduction, when physical pressure on a cell, even the tiniest stretch or squeeze, triggers a biochemical response. Your skin does it. Your bones do it. Even your blood vessels do it. This is how massage helps healing. How hugging slows heart rate. How lying down can literally quiet the body. Pressure becomes chemistry. Touch becomes a message, and the body softens in reply. So when you lie still at night, you're not doing nothing. You're speaking to yourself in the only language your cells truly understand: stillness, warmth, and silence. And that brings us to one of the deepest truths. Your cells don't just listen to the outside world, they listen to you, to your emotions, to your beliefs, to your stress. When you think a stressful thought, your body doesn't wait to see if it's real. It responds as if it is. Your amygdala fires, cortisol rises, digestion slows, blood pressure increases. Your cells prepare for danger, even if the danger is just imagined. This is why anxiety feels so physical. Because it is. Your thoughts don't stay in your head. They echo across the whisper network, shaping breath, tension, immunity, and sleep. But here's the miracle. The reverse is also true. When you feel safe, when you rest, when you breathe deeply, your cells hear that too, and slowly, they begin to repair. There is no off switch for this system. There's only tuning in, or tuning out, and every act of care, sleep, movement, nourishment, stillness, is not a luxury. It's a message. It tells your cells, you matter, I'm listening. And the body, in turn, responds, I'll keep you alive. Tonight, as you lie here, know this. Your body is still talking, still healing, still trying to be heard. You don't need to do anything right now, but you can choose to listen. Because sometimes, the most powerful medicine isn't a drug. It's a signal, and sometimes the greatest healing starts with a whisper. Next chapter, we'll explore what happens when the signals break down, how miscommunication between cells can create slow, invisible suffering, and how inflammation, stress, and misunderstanding within the body turn a whisper into a warning. So rest now. Your body is speaking, and we'll keep listening together. Chapter 2. When silence hurts. Inflammation, miscommunication, and the quiet rise of illness. Not all pain is loud. Some pain creeps in silently, unnoticed, unspoken. It doesn't arrive with a scream. It arrives with a whisper, a headache you ignore, a fatigue you can't explain, a mood you can't lift, a stiffness that lingers longer than it should. And sometimes, that quiet ache isn't even yours. It belongs to the part of you that can't speak, the cells that have stopped being heard. Because when communication within your body begins to break down, illness doesn't shout, it simmers. And in that quiet rise, inflammation begins its slow campaign. rewriting the way your body feels, heals, and hopes. Inflammation, you've heard the word. Maybe from a doctor, maybe in an article, maybe whispered inside your own head when something felt off. But what is it, really? In its purest form, inflammation is a defense mechanism, a rallying cry. The body's way of saying, something's wrong, let's fix it. When you get a cut, your immune cells rush to the scene. Blood vessels dilate. White blood cells flood in. Chemicals are released to clear the damaged tissue. You feel redness, swelling, heat, all signs that the body is speaking in its native tongue. It's not malfunction, it's coordination. It's coordination. It's the whisper network at full volume, doing exactly what it was designed to do. But what happens when the body calls for help, and no one stands down? What happens when the fire keeps burning? This is chronic inflammation, not the helpful kind that heals a wound, but the lingering kind that never turns off, the kind that quietly smolders beneath the surface, undetected, unacknowledged, but deeply, deeply damaging. It's the kind that no longer protects you, but begins to erode you, like a town that never leaves emergency mode. Eventually, the sirens themselves become the problem. So why does this happen? Why would your body turn on itself? The answer is confusion. Inflammation is the immune system's reaction to danger. But in modern life, the signals of danger are everywhere, and often they're false alarms. Poor sleep, processed foods, emotional stress, loneliness, overwork, sedentary habits, environmental toxins, gut imbalances. Each of these sends tiny messages to your immune system, and your cells, ever vigilant, respond. They can't tell if the threat is physical or emotional. To them, a heartbreak feels just as real as an infection. A 12-hour workday feels just as urgent as a bacterial attack, because biologically, stress is stress. And if your stress never ends, your body never stands down, the whisper network becomes a siren. Let's walk through a story. Imagine a woman named Lee, mid-30s, smart, driven, always busy. She wakes up tired, but pushes through. Coffee masks the fatigue. Emails flood her phone. She skips breakfast, barely drinks water, forgets to breathe deeply. Her cortisol, the stress hormone, rises quietly. It keeps her alert, sharp. She's good at her job. Everyone says so, but inside her cells are whispering something isn't right. Blood pressure inches up. Digestive enzymes slow down. Inflammatory messengers, like cytokines, begin to circulate. A small bacterial imbalance in her gut goes unnoticed. She's bloated, but too distracted to care. Her joints ache slightly. Her sleep becomes shallow. Her mood dips. Nothing feels wrong enough to stop until years pass. And her body no longer whispers, it shouts. Autoimmune markers rise. Energy collapses. A diagnosis arrives. But the breakdown didn't begin that day. It began the first time the signals were ignored. It began in the silence. This is not a rare story. It is the story of millions. Not because they're weak, but because we live in a world that celebrates disconnection, that praises productivity over presence, that rewards ignoring the body until it becomes unignorable. But the body never stops trying, even as we abandon it. It tries to keep us safe. Now, let's return to the science. Inside your immune system, there are messengers called cytokines. These are the text messages of inflammation, telling other immune cells where to go, what to do, and how aggressively to respond. In acute injury, they're miraculous. In chronic stress, they become dysregulated, sending mixed signals that confuse and exhaust the system. High cytokine levels have been linked to depression, fatigue, insulin resistance, cardiovascular disease, and even neurodegenerative disorders like Alzheimer's. Miller and Raison, 2016. Your mind and your immune system are not separate. They whisper to each other constantly, and when the whisper turns to static, symptoms appear. One of the most overlooked causes: gut inflammation. The gut is home to 70% of your immune system. It's lined with cells that listen closely to what passes through nutrients, toxins, microbes. When your gut is balanced, these cells send calm, regulated messages to your immune system. But when it's inflamed from poor diet, antibiotics, alcohol, or chronic stress, the gut lining becomes leaky. That means small particles slip through and trigger an immune response. This low-grade inflammation can then travel to your joints, your skin, your brain. You might not feel stomach pain. You might just feel off, anxious, irritable, foggy, tired. But that's inflammation speaking, not through pain, through disconnection. Let's pause here. If your body were a friend, would you treat it the way you do? Would you listen when it says it's overwhelmed? Would you trust it when it says it needs rest, water, joy? Or would you silence it like we so often do? The truth is, your body isn't trying to betray you, it's trying to warn you. But if we never slow down, if we never listen, it has no choice but to break. So what can we do? We can begin to repair the conversation. Start small, not with perfection, not with discipline. With awareness, take 5 minutes and breathe slowly. Not as a task, but as a signal. Eat food that came from the earth, not as a diet, but as a message to your cells. You matter. Move your body not for punishment, but for circulation. Because motion is a language, and stillness is a form of listening. The body is not broken by one big thing. It is broken by the 1,000 tiny dismissals of its voice. The skipped water, the ignored exhaustion, the swallowed emotions, the minimized pain. All of it adds up, not as guilt, but as signal. Loss and healing is just the process of learning to hear again, because inflammation doesn't always mean visible swelling. Sometimes it looks like decision, fatigue, like procrastination, like emotional numbness, like not being able to cry anymore, even when you want to. That is the body saying, the signal has been distorted. We need clarity, we need connection, we need peace. And here's the grace in all of this. The whisper network can be rebuilt. Cells are always adapting. Your immune system is listening, and healing doesn't require grand acts, only consistent honesty. You don't need to fix everything tonight, but maybe tonight, you just acknowledge what's been ignored, that quiet fatigue, that ache you keep dismissing, that hunch that your body needs something different. Start there, and your cells will listen, because silence isn't just the absence of sound, it's the space where communication dies. And when it comes to health, silence can hurt, but with presence, it can also heal. In the next chapter, we'll explore the other side of this story, the love language of the body, how your cells don't just respond to stress, but to connection, how bonding chemicals like oxytocin and emotional memories, etched in tissue, shape your healing more than you know. So for now, rest and know this: even if you've been ignoring your body, it has never stopped loving you and is ready to speak again. Chapter 3: The Love Language of the Body: How Cells Bond break, and remember you. There's a kind of love that never writes poems, never speaks its name, never shows up in photos, but it lives inside you, not in your heart, but in your cells, because your body has its own love language. And sometimes it remembers love, long after your mind forgets. You may think love is just a feeling, something that happens in your heart, or in your mind. But the truth is, love is also a chemical event. When you bond with someone, a parent, a friend, a partner, your cells begin to change. They release oxytocin, the so-called bonding hormone, a molecule that says, in biological terms, stay close, this is safe, this is home. Oxytocin lowers stress hormones. It slows the heart, it deepens sleep, it improves immune response. It helps wounds heal faster. Yes, love literally makes you heal faster. And when we are loved well, our cells carry that memory, not as a thought, but as a change in function, a new way of being. That's what love does at the deepest level. It teaches the body safety, and the body never forgets what felt safe. In fact, it clings to it, sometimes too tightly, because just as love helps us heal, love also leaves traces when it breaks. Let's go back to oxytocin for a moment. Oxytocin isn't just released during hugs and warm connection. It's also released during heartbreak, when bonds rupture, when someone leaves, when trust is betrayed, when closeness becomes distance. The body doesn't stop producing oxytocin right away. It still hopes, still reaches, but now, instead of calming the system, oxytocin meets cortisol, the stress hormone. The two chemicals clash, and your body enters a paradox. You want comfort from the very person who caused the pain. Your body says, reconnect. It will fix this, but your mind remembers that connection is gone. This is why heartbreak feels like withdrawal, because biologically it is. Your brain actually processes emotional pain in the same regions as physical pain. Eisenberger, et al. 2003. When someone breaks your heart, your anterior cingulate cortex lights up, the same part that activates when you're burned, cut, or hit. So when you say your heart hurts after a breakup, it's not a metaphor, it's a literal, measurable pain response. And your immune system hears it. It hears the danger, and it responds with inflammation, low grade, chronic, body-wide, all because someone stopped texting back. That's how deeply our bodies love and how deeply they break. But this story isn't just about heartbreak, it's about memory, because your cells remember not just pain, but patterns. Emotional memory is not only stored in your mind, it's stored in the body, in your posture, your breathing, your heartbeat. It's in the way you tense your shoulders before conflict, in the way your gut tightens when you feel abandoned, in the way your chest contracts when you expect rejection. These aren't random, they're rehearsals of old pain. Your cells remembering what once felt unsafe and trying to protect you before it happens again. This is called somatic memory, when the body remembers trauma, even if your mind doesn't. It's why some people cry during yoga, or feel triggered by a song without knowing why. The memory isn't cognitive, it's cellular. Your nervous system was there, after all, present for every goodbye, every betrayal, every long silence. And it learned something. It learned what to expect from the world. That learning is stored in your blood pressure, your hormone cycles, your immune sensitivity. This is why healing from emotional wounds takes more than just talk. The body must be involved, because the body was where it happened. Now let's flip the coin. If pain can be remembered by the body, so can love, so can safety, so can joy. Every time you experience a moment of genuine connection, a hug, a laugh, a quiet conversation in the dark, your cells take note. They begin to regulate your stress response more gently. They start to expect good things. They relax their hypervigilance. They produce more serotonin, more endorphins, more dopamine, the molecule of anticipation and reward. And if this continues, if you receive consistent, reliable love, your body begins to change. It becomes less reactive, less inflamed, more resilient. This is why long-term, healthy relationships are linked to longer lifespans and lower rates of disease. Love doesn't just make you feel better, it makes you heal better. But what about when that love is inconsistent? What if the person you care for gives you warmth one day and coldness the next? What if your childhood love was tangled with fear, with rejection, with control? That's when the signals get confusing. Oxytocin still flows, but it mixes with adrenaline, with cortisol, with distrust, and your body learns to brace for the worst, even during the best. This is called attachment dysregulation, and it doesn't just affect relationships, it affects immune health, blood sugar, digestion, sleep, because your body can't fully relax into safety. It learned not to trust peace, and so it stays guarded, tight, inflamed even when the danger is gone. But here's the good news. The body is always listening for new messages. You can teach it something new. It takes time, it takes consistency, but the biology of love is not fixed. Your cells renew constantly. New blood cells every 3 months, new gut lining every 5 days, skin every 3 weeks. You are literally becoming someone new all the time, and every act of gentle care, of real connection, of soft presence, rewires what your body expects. It tells your cells, you are safe now, and they believe you eventually. So tonight, I want you to think about this. Your cells aren't just working for you, they're listening to you too. How you treat yourself, to what you tolerate, to what you feed yourself. Emotionally and physically, they respond to how you love and how you are loved. They are shaped by it. They remember it. You are not crazy for holding on to people who made you feel calm once. You are not weak for missing someone who made your nervous system feel less alone. That was real. That was biochemical, and it mattered. But just as your body can remember pain, it can relearn peace, not through words, but through experience, through moments when your breath slows and nothing is expected of you, through meals eaten without guilt, through silence that doesn't feel like punishment, through mornings where you wake up and don't dread the day. These are the new memories. These are the new messages. This is how your body learns. A new language of love. Let it be slow. Let it be quiet. Let it be gentle, because love isn't always loud. Sometimes it's just a shift in chemistry, a change in blood pressure, a breath that comes easier than it did yesterday. That's love too, and your body knows it. In the next chapter, we'll explore how healing isn't a moment, but a dialogue. We'll look at how sleep, food, and stillness help restart broken communication between cells, and why your biology is begging not for intensity, but for consistency. So close your eyes and remember, the body never stops loving, even when it's hurt, even when it's scared, even when it's been abandoned. It's still waiting for your return. Chapter 4. The Healing Conversation. How Sleep, Nutrition, and Stillness Restore Cellular Dialogue. You may not realize this, but your body is constantly trying to make peace with itself, not in some abstract way, but in the most literal, biological sense. It is trying to resolve conflict, correct miscommunication, and rebuild bridges that are frayed from neglect. At every hour of the day, your cells are having conversations. Some of them are loud and urgent. Others are quiet, routine check-ins. Are you safe? Are you fed? Is it time to grow? Is it time to repair? But when those conversations get disrupted, when the rhythm between signal and response is thrown off, that's when illness begins. Not suddenly, but subtly, like a friendship that slowly goes silent. And yet there is a way back. The way back begins in the quiet, in the places where no one is asking anything of you, in the moments where your body can speak again without being interrupted. That's what healing is, in its most humble form. Not a fix, not a transformation, but a return. A return to dialogue, a return to cellular trust. Sleep is the sacred listening hour. It's not just rest, it's rehearsal. Every night when you fall asleep, your body takes the day's chaos and tries to sort it out like letters in a mailroom. Cytokines, the molecular messengers of the immune system, are carefully routed. Stress hormones like cortisol take a step back. Memory-making molecules are given time to consolidate what mattered and forget what didn't. Sleep isn't passive. It's a conversation your body holds with itself, without your conscious interference. It's when your cells feel safe enough to share the truth in deep sleep. Your lymphatic system, the brain's nighttime cleaning crew, clears out metabolic waste and misfired messages, like sweeping up a broken conversation before it turns into resentment. And in REM sleep, the emotional brain finds language again. It gives your hurt a place to go. It unburdens the parts of you that have been holding on all day. To the mind, it looks like dreaming, but to the body, it looks like reunion. Nutrition is love, disguised as molecules. We often treat food like fuel, something you throw in the tank to keep the machine running. But food isn't fuel, it's language. Every bite you eat sends signals to the gut, to the brain, to the immune system waiting just beyond your intestinal wall, deciding if you're in danger or not. A meal isn't just something you digest, it's something your cells interpret. Omega-3 fatty acids, for instance, are the peacekeepers. They reduce inflammation, calm overactive immune responses, and help brain cells fire in synchrony. Magnesium helps neurons communicate calmly, reducing excitability and anxiety. It's like giving your nervous system a soft place to land and fiber. It feeds the good bacteria in your gut, the very ones responsible for creating neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine. Yes, the bacteria you nourish may be shaping how well you love, cope, and feel safe in the world. You're not just feeding your body, you're feeding your body's ability to speak. Stillness is the forgotten medicine in a culture addicted to urgency. Stillness feels almost irresponsible, but biologically, stillness is a recalibration, a space where unspoken signals are finally heard. Stillness slows the breath, and breath is one of the oldest languages your body knows. When you breathe slowly, your vagus nerve, the body's great communicator, tells your organs that you are not in danger. It allows immune cells to stop fighting. It tells your heart to slow down. Even 10 minutes of stillness can shift the entire chemical landscape of your inner world. Your stress hormones drop. Your muscle tension releases. Your brainwaves start to change frequency. The noise inside you grows quieter, and the soft whispers of the body become audible again. This is where regulation begins, not from effort, but from listening, from silence. But it's not just what you do, it's how you do it. You can sleep out of exhaustion, or you can sleep as an offering. You can eat to distract, or you can eat to nourish. You can sit in silence and still scroll, or you can sit in silence and finally hear yourself again. Healing is not in the habit, it's in the intention beneath it. It's in the message your cells receive when you say, I will stop rushing. I will feed you what you need. I will rest even when the world does not give me permission. That's what reopens the dialogue. That's what tells the body, you are not being ignored anymore. Sometimes we think healing is a fight, but often it's a peace treaty, signed in moments of rest, negotiated through meals you eat slowly, finalized in the long, warm stillness before sleep. And when the body hears you again, truly hears you, something magical happens. The immune system begins to de-escalate. The gut microbiome becomes more diverse. The brain starts to process emotion more efficiently, and the heart, the literal heart, begins to beat more coherently. You didn't heal because you fixed something. You healed because you made space for the body to talk to itself, again, uninterrupted. And it remembered how to let that truth land quietly. Now, healing isn't always about doing more. It's often about doing less, but doing it with more love, with more presence, with more attention to what the body has been trying to say all along. Let yourself rest. Let the food you eat become a form of kindness. Let your stillness become sacred again, because when you do, your cells won't just function better, they will trust you again, and that trust changes everything as your breath softens and your mind slows. Notice what's been repaired in you, just by understanding the conversation. Let it be enough. For now, and when you're ready, drift with me to the next chapter, because there's one last message to hear, a deeper one about how your body keeps a record of who you've been and who you're becoming. Chapter 5. The Inner Treaty. How to rebuild trust between your mind and body. Your body has always been on your side, even in your most chaotic moments, even when you cursed it for not being faster, stronger, prettier, calmer. It was still there, quietly keeping rhythm beneath your rebellion. It's strange, isn't it? How we can live inside something so intimately and still feel so far from it. How the body carries the story, while the mind writes a completely different script. But tonight, we are going to do something different. We are going to listen, not to the voice in your head, but to the voice beneath it. The voice of your cells, your tissues, your heart's subtle fatigue. The language of the body is slow, simple, and honest. And what it wants, more than anything, is to trust you again, because somewhere along the line, you stopped being allies. It usually starts small. A deadline here, a skipped meal there, a few too many late nights, justified as just this once. You tell your body, hang in there, as you sip the third cup of coffee to override its call for rest. You bargain with pain, silence, hunger, rush through fatigue. You treat symptoms like enemies to fight, instead of messages trying to speak, and eventually the body stops whispering, it screams. Through migraines, gut aches, panic attacks, joint stiffness, skin flare-ups, or that deep, nameless exhaustion that no nap can fix. But even then, most of us don't reconnect. We medicate the scream and continue ignoring the silence. Here's the truth. Trust is a two-way signal, and when you override your body long enough, it stops sending clear signals back. That's why, over time, you don't just feel tired, you feel confused, disconnected, foggy, like your instincts are broken. You can't tell when you're truly hungry. You don't know if you're sick or just stressed. You can't tell if your anxiety is mental or hormonal, because the wires are crossed. You're living in a home that no longer speaks your language, but this is not the end of the story. This is the part where something sacred can begin, a treaty, a slow, quiet rebuilding of the relationship between the mind that leads and the body that remembers. And like any trust repair, it doesn't start with words, it starts with small, consistent actions, not grand gestures, not perfection, just presence. So how do you begin? You begin by listening to signals without needing to fix them immediately. You let the tiredness be tiredness, without labeling it as lazy. You let the ache in your chest exist, without drowning it in distractions. You stop asking your body to get over it and instead start asking, what do you need to feel safe again? Sometimes it's something physical, warm food, deep sleep, sunlight on your face, or one good breath that fills your ribs all the way. Other times it's emotional, forgiveness for all the years you didn't listen, patience for all the times you judged yourself harshly, gratitude for how much your body has done for you, even when it was hurting. Let's get a little more biological for a moment. Your nervous system is constantly scanning for safety or danger. This is called neurotransmitters. It happens below conscious thought, and when your body senses safety real or symbolic, it softens. Your vagus nerve activates, your heart rate lowers, your digestion resumes, your immune system stops panicking, and most importantly, your body begins to trust again. But here's the twist. Safety isn't always created by eliminating stress. Sometimes it's built by responding differently to it. That means when your heart races, you don't say, "What's wrong with me?" You say, my body is trying to protect me. I hear you. And when fatigue hits, you don't shove through it with guilt. You say, okay, maybe I need a moment to pause. Let's check in. It seems simple, but it's revolutionary. You are rewiring your neuroception. You are giving your nervous system evidence that your mind is not an enemy, that you are safe together. Think of it this way. For years, your mind has been like a commander shouting orders to a tired soldier who never stopped marching. But healing doesn't come from louder orders. It comes from quieter presence, from walking beside that soldier, finally, and saying, "Thank you for carrying me all this time. I didn't always make it easy, but I'm here now. I want to understand." Let me tell you a story. There was a woman who lived with chronic fatigue for nearly a decade. She saw doctors, tried supplements, meditated, journaled, nothing worked, until one day, a somatic therapist asked her, "Have you ever forgiven your body for the years you forced it to perform?" She didn't have an answer, but that question stayed. She started to realize her body wasn't broken, it was guarded. She'd trained herself to be productive at all costs, and her body had simply adapted to that message. So healing didn't start with another fix, it started with an apology, and then a partnership. She began asking, what would it look like to stop managing my body and start mothering it? The answers weren't dramatic, they were subtle, more stretching, less scrolling, more breathing, less bracing, more grace, fewer deadlines, and slowly, her body began to speak again. This is the treaty we're talking about. It doesn't mean you'll never push yourself again. It doesn't mean life will always be slow and soft. It just means you stop treating your body as something to outsmart and start treating it like something to care for. You stop asking it to keep proving itself. You stop shaming it for needing recovery. And you start honoring the truth that biology isn't weakness, it's wisdom. And yes, it takes time, because a body that's been ignorado sent open up overnight, just like a friend who's been betrayed needs more than one apology. So, let the rebuild be slow. Let it take shape in rituals, gentle walks, full meals, long exhales, listening when your jaw tightens, noticing when your breath goes shallow, turning toward those signals instead of away from them. This is the secret. Your body has never needed you to be perfect. It just needed you to notice, to stay. Tonight, as you prepare to sleep, remember, your body is still listening. Even now, even after everything, it's waiting for the signal that the war is over, that your mind is no longer demanding, but inviting, that the next chapter will not be written in adrenaline, but in attention. Let this be that moment where you say, I'm here, I'm listening, I want peace, and slowly, softly, your body will believe you. So maybe tonight is not about fixing, not about doing more, trying harder, pushing further. Maybe it's simply about noticing that your body is still here, still breathing, still holding you, still waiting for peace. There's no need to rush this reconciliation. Like all trust, it returns in quiet moments, in how kindly you speak to yourself, in how gently you hold your tired limbs, in how seriously you take your hunger, your rest, your joy. Healing isn't always loud. Sometimes it looks like silence, finally being honored or rest, finally allowed or emotion, finally let through. You are not weak for needing softness. You are wise for choosing it. Before you drift off tonight, you might want to leave a note to yourself or to others in the comments. What did this video awaken in you? What kind of peace are you ready to make with your own body? We read every word you share, and this quiet corner of the internet, it's for all of us learning how to listen again. And now, let your eyes soften, let your breath deepen, and let your body know you're not at war anymore. You're coming home. Good night.